All right, welcome back to MGD 111. Today we're going to take a look at some ways to enhance your photos. If you saw the little YouTube clip that we had at the start of this, you may have seen quite a few folks on TV and movies saying, let's enhance this picture. There's only so much we can do, and it all has to do with the resolution of the pictures and the limitations of the program and nature itself. So some of the enhancement that they show you on CSI and sci-fi movies is simply not possible. But there's some pretty cool stuff that we can do here. I've got this picture here called My Other Car, and I'm just going to show you a few techniques that we can do on this. One of the things that we can do to enhance a photo is to sharpen the image. There's a few different ways we can do that. The easiest way is to go up into our filter gallery, and you're going to see a whole lot of really cool stuff up here. I promise you, in a few weeks, we will cover all this other stuff here. But I want you to focus on the Sharpen menu here. There's several things in here. Sharpen, sharpen edges, sharpen more. We're going to take a look at what some of those do. Let's zoom in on the picture a little bit here. Let's take this tail light here. It's a little bit soft over here. If I go to Filter, Sharpen, and just click Sharpen, you'll see it sort of brought out a little bit more detail there. Let me undo, redo. You see how it brought it a little more into focus. Now that's sort of a lie because it really didn't focus it. It just sort of increased some of the contrast between some of these pixels and made some of them stand out more. The cool thing about Sharpen is if you do this just in a tiny bit, not overdoing it, it can really enhance your photo. But if you overdo sharpening, it can have a pretty negative effect. Watch what happens if I do sharpen again. And by the way, anytime you're in the filter menu, anytime you have applied a filter, up at the very top, you'll see the name of that same filter with Command F. That means apply the same filter again. So watch what happens if I do Command F again. Again, just focus on this tail light. Now we're starting to get a little bit of pixelization in these nice flat colors, and we're starting to get it all throughout the picture. And you'll notice it just starts to break down. It's making the pixels too sharp. So this is a tool that you want to not use too much. I'm going to go back to our open state here. And let's go over here to an area that is a little bit sharper. And I'll show you a different one here. Again, it's under Filter. And this is under Blur. Now there's a whole bunch of different kinds of blur in here, and again we'll cover some of those in our filters section in a few weeks. But again, we have blur, and if I just click it, you'll see it kind of just blurred the whole picture. Let me undo, and again just watch on this logo here. Before, after, before, after. And again, if we hit Command F, you'll notice, by the way, Command F now tells us to blur. If we keep doing that, it has to catch up for a second, it will make the picture super blurry. Now the cool thing is the blur filter is actually a pretty honest filter. You can keep on blurring and blurring and blurring, and it will have an accurate effect. It actually looks realistic. The Sharpen one we can only do so much with. And that's kind of how the real world works too. We can only have so much detail visible in something, but we can always remove detail from something. So that's something we want to just keep in mind. Now let's go back to our other tail light over here, and let's take another look at the Sharpen filter again. Because kind of a cool thing that we can do here is, let's go to Filter, Sharpen. You'll notice this one called Sharpen More. What does that do? It just kind of gives it a double shot of sharpening. So if you know you're going to have to do it a few times, or one's not going to be enough, you can just kind of hit it a couple of times. So there it is, and it looks a little bit overdone, but it was a little blurry before. So what can I do? Well, in order to average in between two filters, we have an option. Now, I must warn you, this option is only available immediately after we apply a filter. So if I apply a filter, I can go to Edit, and you'll see that there's one called Undo Sharpen, and that's Command Z, so it undoes the last step. But you'll notice there's one here called Fade Sharpen More. What does that do? Well, let's click on it, and what that allows us to do is we can alter the opacity of the new filter that we just applied and the previous state of the picture. Watch what happens here if I go from the opacity of 100 down to 0. Notice it shows us the previous version of it. But I can go somewhere in between and just sort of apply an average, somewhere between that previous state and the full-blown filter. So anytime you apply a filter, you have the option of just fading it back a little bit. With some filters, it works better than others. If it's a filter that changes the position of anything, like a distort filter, it's not so good. But for sharpening, this one really works well. This is a bit too much. Right in the middle is actually pretty nice. So just bear that in mind. However, just always remember, if I apply that filter and then I do some other step, I can't go back in my history palette and get back to that filter and apply the fade. I can only apply that fade immediately after applying the filter. And this works with most filters. It works with blur too, and it works with several others. So give that one a try, and you may find that you can really fine-tune the way these filters work. Save this picture, go back to the original state, and we'll play with some more filters.